The McKinsey Solve Game is what you need to pass in order to join McKinsey. You may already know that in McKinsey's Problem Solving Game, you need to master both the ecosystem game as well as the Redrock Study. On top of those, maybe you've already heard about a third Solve game that has started appearing in 2024, the Microbes Management or Ocean Treatment game. You may already have some idea of what to expect from your McKinsey Solve Game or McKinsey PSG, but now you want to practice its test components. Congratulations, you need look no further. Welcome to this interactive McKinsey Solve Game video tutorial. No fluff. What are we going to cover? Like the actual McKinsey Solve test, we will start with its ecosystem placement game, in which McKinsey asks you to create a sustainable ecosystem in a coral reef or a mountain-rich environment. After a short recap of the game's rules and success factors, I take you straight through a fully fledged and interactive mock ecosystem game simulation designed for you to practice and solve yourself. Eventually, I share with you the winning strategies for cracking the ecosystem game. In the Redrock Study, which presents the second McKinsey Solve Game component, you will have to manage the wildlife population and biodiversity on Redrock Island. To get you ready for the Redrock Study's challenges, I take you through a series of interactive practice questions offered by none other than McKinsey itself, followed by a wrap-up of key takeaways for your actual Redrock Study assessment. Since the beginning of 2024, a third McKinsey Solve Game component has started to appear, which I for now shall dub McKinsey's Microbes Management or Ocean Treatment Game. At the very end of this video, I will reveal to you what you need to really brace yourself for. And we are here to make the best use of your time. This is why we will not cover the infamous plant defense game, since it has stopped appearing entirely since the beginning of 2023. And McKinsey has also stopped using entirely the disaster management, the disease management and the migration management games that had appeared occasionally. I can assure you that nowadays your plant is safe, and these games are the only ones that require your attention and preparation. A concise agenda? Well, no fluff, you shall see. I'm Jack and spent 5 years as a consultant and project manager with McKinsey Company myself, and now serve as an independent management advisor. So I know exactly what skills McKinsey demands from you and screens for in you as a candidate. On my UN Consulting channel, you find many top quality gems designed to get you ahead of the game in your consulting and business careers. In case you do not make it until the end of this video, I sincerely invite you to make use of my free consulting online test prep kit, which has grown to more than 20 pages by now, and in which I have compiled for you many further free online test prep resources on other online tests, such as the BCG online case or the Bain-Sova test. And specifically on McKinsey's Problem Solving Game, I have added there further free resources for your practice, such as additional materials on your ecosystem game scenario and further official and free McKinsey mock tests. I say more about these resources later in this video. Meanwhile, you can download these practice resources now, immediately and for free after signing up to my UN Consulting newsletter, link in the description below this video. Now, let us get you ready for the McKinsey Solve Game. Ecosystem Game. Rules recap. Coming to the secrets to success in excelling at McKinsey's Ecosystem Game, less than 1 year ago I published my previous video tutorial on the McKinsey Solve or Problem Solving Game, which, thanks to you, by now has racked up a 6-digit number of views. In there, I offer you what I sincerely believe is to this date the most comprehensive and educational strategy guide out there on how to succeed in the ecosystem game and the Redrock Study. The good news is, nothing has changed since then, and everything I say there is still fully up to date and relevant. If you have not watched it yet already, I certainly urge you to add this video to your watch later list right now. In my previous McKinsey PSG tutorial video, I break down for you in detail the game setup and the winning strategies for mastering the ecosystem game successfully. If you have watched it already, in this video you can now apply your learnings. However, I wanted to make this video's ecosystem game section fully self-contained. Therefore, I will run you through a quick and complete rules recap now, but I will hold back my strategy advice at the beginning. I will fully empower you to take a crack at the ecosystem mock game simulation that I have prepared for you, and then make you find out step by step all the secret winning strategies yourself. If you have gone through the ecosystem game rules in my previous McKinsey Solve tutorial video already, I nevertheless suggest you to watch this part, as I will this time offer you a different perspective on the game's setup. A quick recap of the objectives and rules of the ecosystem placement game. In the ecosystem game, you have to build and place a sustainable ecosystem either within a coral reef or mountain ridge environment. Both scenario types are almost completely equivalent to each other. Just for this part's video theme, let us go maritime. Yes, that feels so appropriate. During your ecosystem game, you have 35 minutes of playtime to achieve two objectives. Objective number 1, select 8 species that together form a sustainable food chain in which every species survives. That means it neither dies of hunger or is fully eaten up. Objective number 2, select a location in the environment dealt to you, coral reef or mountain ridge, that allows these 8 species to survive together. During the untimed tutorial at the beginning of the game, you will be explained how to execute these two tasks. For the species selection, on the left of your screen, you will find a long list of so-called producers and animals. In fact, I spoil for you that in every ecosystem game, you will be dealt exactly 39 species. 30 of each species will be animals, and 9 of each species will be so-called producers. From this list of species, you will need to select your 8 species that you believe can together form a sustainable food chain. Each species in the game is described by a profile card. If you are assigned the coral reef scenario for your game, then the animal cards will have the following structure. Following the species name, there will always be an image and then a list with 6 pieces of information. So in this example, the animal blue sea star would be featured by an image, followed by information on its calories needed and provided, the depth and temperature range it can live in, as well as its predators and food sources. I will say more on how you need to use these data in a moment. Then there also is an Add button. If you click it, you select this animal as one of the 8 glorious species you want to select, but no worries, you can undo this choice. The species images are completely useless. In fact, they are even harmful in the sense that they take up space on your screen so that you can view only 2 species cards at a time without scrolling. Now, let us turn to the producers and take a look at cylinder kelp. You realize it almost looks the same as Blue Sea Star's animal card, but there are 2 important differences between all animals and producers. While animals always need to consume calories, the calories needed of all producers in the game are always 0, since they feed on generic food sources such as waste or sunlight. Let us focus on the food consumption part for the moment. Whether a producer or an animal, the species calories needed, calories provided, eaten by information and their food sources are all relevant for building the sustainable food chain, or the first objective of the game. Now, how do you build your sustainable food chain of 8 species? During the tutorial at the start of the game, you will be presented the food chain eating rules, but it is important that you familiarize yourself with them now, before your solve test. In my previous solve tutorial video, I talked you through these food chain rules in detail. In this video, I offer you a briefer recap in a moment, but if you want to refresh your memory about these detailed rules, feel free to pause the video for a moment to read them. I resume for a summary. Put in a nutshell, each of your 8 species selected will eat once during the course of the game. The species with the highest calories provided will eat first. Among its food sources that are present within the 8 species you have selected, it will turn to the food source with the highest calories provided, whose calories provided will be diminished by the calories needed of its predator. Afterwards, the next species in line to eat is the species with the currently highest calories provided until all 8 species have eaten. If at any point during the feast the calories needed of a predator exceed the calories provided by its food source, the food source dies. And you immediately lose the game, since your food chain is not sustainable. The predator may continue eating from a second food source. It will die too if it cannot fully satisfy its hunger. In my previous video, I also took you through an example to demonstrate you how the food chain rules play out in practice, but trust me, we will go way deeper on this later in this video. So, to win the ecosystem game and for successfully passing this first part of McKinsey Solve test, you must identify 8 species that together can form a sustainable food chain. Be aware that there is no embedded support tool in the game assisting you with the food chain calculations whatsoever. You are only presented with this long list of 39 animal producer cards and then expected to somehow derive your solution from them. But don't worry, I teach you how to smoothly do this. Now, let us turn to the second objective of the game and discuss how to select a suitable location for your ecosystem. If we look at one of the profile cards again, the 2 environmental conditions parameters determine within which depth and temperature ranges the species, or here the blue sea star, is able to live. Closing the species profile cards for a moment, the main part of your screen or interface will actually be covered with ocean water. In the top right of the screen, however, you will find your environmental condition monitors. In the coral reef scenario, you should see a list of 7 environmental condition parameters here. As an unnecessary game complication, you can only see the parameter values of up to 4 environmental condition monitors at a time, namely those whose boxes you have ticked. Each pixel on your screen, or the ocean, corresponds to a different set of parameter values, so the environmental conditions vary with each pixel. To choose a location for your ecosystem of 8 species, you just need to click somewhere on your screen and submit that pixel as your chosen location for the game. So, for instance, if you want the giant octopus be part of your 8 species, you should make sure that at the pixel or location on the screen you choose, the depth is between 31 to 40 meters and the temperature between 23.8 to 27 degrees Celsius, so that your octopus can thrive. Of course, you want to choose a location where not just the giant octopus, but all 8 species you will select can survive. And if you wonder if an octopus can really survive at a depth of 35 meters in water that is 24 degrees Celsius warm, well, not really. I checked that they live at sea depths of 800 to 4000 meters, where temperatures range from 10 to 1 degree Celsius. Please remember that you applied to McKinsey as a business consultant. Do not mistake McKinsey's ecosystem game for a zoology exam. It's not. On a further note, in the coral reef scenario that we are assuming here, the other 5 environmental condition parameters do not matter at all. They are just white noise designed to confuse you. The species here only care about depth and temperature. However, if you are not dealt the coral reef scenario, but instead the mountain ridge scenario, then there are some tiny differences. First, the environmental conditions will carry some different labels. And of course, you might not find a sea star or seaweed, but possibly an iron eagle. There's only one difference that really matters though. Each species in the mountain ridge scenario will come with 2 extra environmental parameters. I spoil for you though, these 2 additional parameters will exhibit the same values across all 39 species in your game. So they bloat your game a little more, but do not really increase the level of difficulty or complexity of your game. Only elevation and temperature ranges vary across the species to some extent. More on that later. However, when you select the location of your ecosystem in the mountain ridge scenario, you must choose a location that complies with the parameter ranges of these 2 additional parameters too. Otherwise, all your species would immediately die, and we want them to survive. So this would be a suitable location for the iron eagle to survive. You see that the coral reef and mountain ridge scenarios virtually pose the same challenges. So for this video, I stick to the coral reef version of the species cards just to save some space on the screen. I want to leave my recap of the game setup and rules here. If you felt I went too fast, I once again refer you to my previous video tutorial on the McKinsey PSG. But believe me, everything and more will become clear in the following interactive ecosystem game training session. Ecosystem game. Interactive mock game simulation. Now let us launch this very exciting part of this video, the interactive training for your ecosystem placement game. I have done nothing less but build a fully fledged mock video simulation of an entire McKinsey ecosystem game for you. In the past, we have discussed how to approach this game. Now I actually want to help you walk the talk. Just as in McKinsey's real ecosystem game, I will confront you with the profile cards of 39 species that idea you for your game, a coral reef scenario. From these 39 species, you will have to select 8 species for your food chain. Do not pause the video or start thinking yet. Immediately after I've introduced you to your 39 species cards, I will share with you my test instructions. We start. This is how our coral reef scenario looks like. The first 2 slides proudly present you your 9 producers. Every ecosystem game always comes with exactly 9 producers, which will be sorted in alphabetical order from the top to the bottom, or for better visibility in this mock game scenario, from the left to the right. As a reminder, producers are species that are self-sustained in the sense that they do not eat from any other species. Their calories needed are always 0. Next, I show you 6 slides that together contain the profile cards of 30 animals. Each ecosystem placement game comes with exactly 30 animals. Again, the animals will be sorted in alphabetical order and are organized separately from the producers. Note that in the actual game, you first have to click on each species name to unfold its species card, and usually cannot view more than 2 cards at a time on your screen without scrolling up and down, while on these slides I present you as many animal cards as possible at the same time, allowing you a faster overview. Now you have briefly seen the 39 animal species for your game. In the following, I will ask you a couple of questions to guide you through the process on how to best tackle the ecosystem game and to make you learn by doing. I invite you to briefly pause the video after my questions so that you can think for yourself and learn. At the same time, you can of course also just continue watching my video without interrupting it if you want to hear the solutions immediately. So, it's time for my first interactive practice question. In the ecosystem game rules recap, I just explained to you that the ecosystem game poses you with 2 objectives that you need to fulfill, but the game actually does not prescribe an order in which to fulfill these 2 objectives. Based on what you know from my previous and this video tutorial, I ask you, when you play the ecosystem game, do you think you should first select the 8 species for your food chain, or is it better to first set the location for your ecosystem? If you want to think about this question for a moment, pause the video now. I resume for the answer. I strictly recommend that you always first identify the 8 species with which you can build a sustainable food chain. Only after you have found 8 such species that can peacefully cohabitate with each other, at the very end log in the location of your ecosystem. I will explain the reasons for my recommendation in a bit. Please bear with me. Let me immediately proceed with the second training question for you. In the following, I like us to now go through the 2 producer and 6 animal slides again and pay attention exclusively to the 2 environmental conditions on the cards, that is the species depth and temperature ranges. I want to ask you, what observations do you make? Let's go! Check and compare depth and temperature ranges across all species. Feel free to pause the video, but do not yet try to solve the game, only focus on the environmental parameters for now. I keep silence for a moment and play some music. Have you noticed it? What you will find in every ecosystem game scenario is that there actually only exist 3 different types of depth ranges and only 3 different types of temperature ranges. And even better, both range types only exist in 3 different combinations together. In my previous video tutorial, I called these 3 different combinations ecosystem bundles. There exist exactly 3 ecosystem bundles per game, which I shall call ecosystem bundles A, B and C. Furthermore, maybe you also noticed that each ecosystem bundle comes with exactly 3 producers and 10 animals that can live within the same depth and temperature ranges of the ecosystem bundle they belong to. To be clear, any other combination of depth and temperature ranges will not occur in your game. There will be no species that could live outside of one of these 3 ecosystem bundles. Be aware that the actual depth and temperature range values will most probably look slightly different in your game, but you will certainly find the same pattern, namely that you can assign all 39 species to one of 3 ecosystem bundles consisting of 10 animals and 3 producers each. Is this cool? If you like this video this far and find it useful, please smash the like button, and I'm always happy to read your comments of appreciation or receive your questions in the comment section below this video. Also, subscribe for further top quality business and consulting careers advice, and share this video with a peer of yours who wants to apply to McKinsey too. Back to our training. Knowing that there are 3 ecosystem bundles that come with 3 producers and 10 animals each reduces complexity already significantly. All of a sudden, you do not anymore select 8 species from 39 species, but rather need to decide which of the 3 ecosystem bundles to pick, and then select 8 species from just 13 species to build your sustainable food chain. So, let us build your food chain. My next question to you: when you build your food chain, do you think you should start with the producers or the animals? If you like to think for yourself, pause the video now. I resume for the solution. I recommend to always build your food chain bottom up, starting with the producers at the bottom. The reason for this is that the producers are so modest. They either feed on sunlight or raised exclusively. These peaceful creatures do not need any calories, hence cannot kill anybody else in your food chain. They, however, provide valuable calories that feed the animals in your food chain. On this slide, I have regrouped the 9 producers by their 3 ecosystem bundles A, B and C. As said before, each ecosystem bundle comes with exactly 3 producers. Whichever ecosystem bundle you choose to build your food chain from, you will always want to include its 3 producers within your selection of 8 species. On a side note, all producers' calories needed are 0, and I have removed their generic food sources from this slide. The next question may be a bit tougher. Take a look at these 9 producers. Which ecosystem bundle or which 3 producers do you want to select to build your food chain, and why? If you like, think a moment for yourself and pause the video now. I resume for the solution. When deciding which ecosystem bundle to pick, you should take a closer look at each bundle's producers, especially at the sum of their calories provided. The more calories they together provide, the better they can usually satisfy the calories needed by the 5 animals in the food chain that remain to be selected. You can sum up the calories of the producers mentally with a calculator or in an Excel sheet. In our scenario, where producers and ecosystem A together provide 13,050 calories, ecosystem B's producers provide 15,600 calories, and in ecosystem C, the producers provide 13,500 calories. Hence, ecosystem B's producers provide the most calories. Furthermore, as a second selection criterion, check that for all 3 producers in your favorite ecosystem bundle, there actually exist animals that they are eaten by. Sometimes you will be dealt producers where it says they are eaten by none. This means that producer will surely survive, but it does not feed anyone, which usually makes it more challenging to build a food chain. You can check that in our game scenario, all producers have animals that they are eaten by. So, with this guidance at hand, ecosystem bundle B looks most promising to build a sustainable food chain with. This brings me to the heart of this ecosystem game tutorial. At this step, I indeed ask you to try finding a sustainable food chain by selecting 8 species from this bundle that can peacefully live and survive together. In your actual game, you would now only keep the profile cards of those producers and animals unfolded or visible that live in the chosen depth range of 21 to 30 meters and temperature range of 27.1 to 30.3 degrees Celsius. I again make your task a bit easier here by keeping the 3 ecosystem B producers on one slide and moving the 10 animals that belong to ecosystem bundle B onto a single slide. Voila! One further hint here. Be aware that the eaten by and food source information of the animals are completely equivalent to each other. I suggest to you that you from now on ignore the eaten by information and only focus on the food source information, which in my view are easier to process and completely sufficient. To simplify, I will now drop the redundant eaten by information from the animals. As the core task, I ask you to now take up to 7 minutes of your time to select 8 species that together form a sustainable food chain. That means each species eats once, but in which no species dies. In case that after 7 minutes you still struggle, then do not waste time and watch my solution. Along the way, and before I reveal the solution to you, I will give you 3 tips. Unless you finish the task faster, I suggest you to resume this video every 2 minutes to reveal my next tip. I show you again first the producer slide. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now I shall freeze for the ecosystem B's animal slide. Please use the YouTube video playhead to flip back and forth between the producer and animal slides. Remember, in the actual game, you usually cannot see more than 2 species at a time, so this is still a luxury. So, set a timer or an alarm going off in 2 minutes, pause the video now, and in 2 minutes resume the video for my first tip. Pause now. I resume for my first tip. Pause your timer for a moment. Maybe my first piece of advice appears basic at this point, but I want to stress that point. In every game you get dealt by McKinsey, and for whatever 13 species in your bundle, there are 3 producers you should always include in your food chain. The producers have the singular advantage that, while they usually provide many calories, they do not harm anybody. As peaceful creatures that only feed on generic food sources such as sunlight or waste, they are fully self-contained and by definition they do not kill anybody. I have actually brought some food here to feed our little producers. To conclude, I recommend you that you begin your food chain with the bronze seagrass, the moon coral and the purple rod algae at its bottom. I have sorted them from left to right by their calories provided. That means from the remaining 10 animals, you need to select 5 animals to complete your food chain. Resume your timer and pause the video. Again, please use the YouTube video playhead to swap between the producer and the animal slides. In 2 minutes, resume the video to listen to my second tip. Pause the video now. How is it going? Time for my second tip. I told you earlier that I suggest to always build your food chain from the bottom to the top. That means that you ought to start with your producers and then gradually work your way up to the animals at the top of your food chain. However, for my second tip, I would like to turn your attention to the potential top of your food chain. The bunter shark is not eaten by anybody else, which makes it a top predator. It preys on the marauder marlin and the great barracuda. Let us check the respective calorie balances here. The marauder marlin provides a generous 3,500 calories and the great barracuda even 3,800 calories. But neither of these animals can satisfy the bunter shark alone, which needs 3,900 calories. If you included these 3 animals in your food chain together, the bunter shark would first fully consume the great barracuda, that is, drag the entire 3,800 calories provided from the great barracuda and then turn to the marauder marlin for dessert worth just 100 calories. However, the great barracuda would die, so that such a food chain would not be sustainable. If, however, either the marauder marlin or the great barracuda were not in play, the banter shark's calorie demands could not be satisfied and it would die of hunger. That means there cannot be any sustainable food chain that includes the banter shark. Let us look one level down. The marauder marlin only has one food source, namely the climber crab. The climber crab, however, only provides 2,500 calories, but the marauder marlin needs 3,500 calories. That means it would be impossible to build a sustainable food chain that includes the marauder marlin. The great barracuda has 6 food sources, and a quick comparison of its 1,800 calories needed with the calories provided of its food sources reveals that its hunger could generally be satisfied by the purple rod algae, by the blue sea star, the climber crab and the silver haddock, so it presents an eligible candidate for building a sustainable food chain. Sometimes this exclusion principle can help to quickly eliminate candidates that turn out useless from your given ecosystem bundle. So my second tip is you can ignore the banter shark and the marauder marlin for this game and just focus on the others. Pause the video and go on and resume it in exactly 2 minutes for my third tip in case you still need it. Go! It's time for my third tip, and it addresses your time management. If you are still busy trying to identify a suitable selection for your food chain but have not found one at this point, please keep your ambition in check. I say this because I too like to solve puzzles myself, but this may be the first ecosystem game simulation you are playing and you are still learning. Therefore, strictly give yourself 1 more minute and then let me take you through. Last chance, pause the video now for 1 more minute. Wherever you stand, drop your pen now. I will take you through this game. Before that, if you appreciate this video tutorial so far, please smash the like button and share this video with peers in need. Also, for further top quality business and consulting career advice, I invite you to subscribe and check out what else I have to offer for you on my UN Consulting channel. Alright then, let us go back to our ecosystem bundle B. We surely included 3 producers and select from it 5 animals to start with. I like to include blue sea star and climber crab, who are pure herbivores. They only feed on producers. Then I add wicked stingray, emerald seahorse and silver haddock. Be aware that purely for didactic purpose, I have swapped the positions of calories needed and calories provided so that you find the calories provided that determine the turn order at the top of the animal profile cards. Let us see how this food chain unfolds. The species with the highest calories provided eats first. Strictly speaking, this would usually be the producers, but we already know they flourish either from just sunbathing or munching waste, so we can skip the producers and hop straight to the animals. In this food chain, silver haddock has the highest calories provided, namely 3,300 calories. It will turn to its food source with the highest calories provided, which is purple rod algae. The 3,200 calories needed by silver haddock drop to 0, and the calories provided of purple rod algae diminished by those 3,200 calories needed to 1,500 remaining calories provided. Next in line is climber crab, with a calorie demand of 2,850 calories. Among climber crab's food sources, moon coral currently provides most calories. Its 5,200 calories provided are reduced to 2,350 calories, namely by the climber crab's 2,850 calories needed, which drop to 0. The feast is continued by the blue sea star, which requires a whopping 3,300 calories, quite a hungry sea star, and is safely served by the bronze seagrass, which is a blue sea star's food source with the currently highest calories provided. After consumption, the blue sea star's appetite is stilled and the bronze seagrass can still provide 2,400 calories. The fourth animal to eat is emerald seahorse. Among its food sources, moon coral currently still provides the highest calories provided. Unfortunately, at this point it has only 2,350 calories provided left. Not enough for emerald seahorse. The moon coral's calories provided drop to 0. The emerald seahorse would then turn to the wicked stingray and drag from it its remaining 150 calories needed. However, that does not matter anymore, because the moon coral has died, This food chain is not sustainable. So maybe there's an issue with emerald seahorse. Let us replace it by long sea bass. This also is nice because then we have to only roll back one step. So the first 3 steps remain the same as before. Silver haddock, climber crab and blue sea star eat the same and in the same order as before. Now the 4th animal to eat is ricket stingray. 3 species could theoretically satisfy its 1,400 calories needed. Bronze seagrass, blue sea star and silver haddock can all provide more than 1,400 calories. However, the game rules demand that ricket stingray turns to the species with the highest calories provided, which currently is silver haddock. Silver haddock's 3,300 calories provided drop by 1,400 calories to 1,900 calories, and ricket stingray's calories needed reach 0. Good. Now just long sea bass needs to eat. It will turn to blue sea star, which at this point offers 200 more calories provided than silver haddock. But oh no, blue sea star's 2,100 calories provided falls slightly below long sea bass's calorie demand. Its calories provided drop to 0 and it dies. Long sea bass would survive by sourcing its remaining 500 calories needed from silver haddock, but that does not matter anymore. We have been this close and yet unlucky actually. Tiny changes to the game structure can make a big difference in the ecosystem game. If the eating order of ricket stingray and long sea bass was reversed, these 8 species together would already present a sustainable solution. To demonstrate to you the sensitivity of the ecosystem game to tiny changes, but also seemingly small mistakes, I temporarily swap the calories provided of ricket stingray and long sea bass and go back once more to after the 3rd step. In this case, in the 4th step, instead of ricket stingray, long sea bass would eat as the 4th animal. But this time, silver haddock would have higher calories provided than blue sea star. So long sea bass would eat from silver haddock. Ricket stingray would then eat as the last species. Since silver haddock now only has 700 calories remaining, ricket stingray would turn to bronze seagrass, which is good, since bronze seagrass could easily serve the 1,400 calories needed by ricket stingray. So, with such a small modification, these 8 species already would form a sustainable food chain. I hope this little excursion did not confuse you. I just wanted to demonstrate to you how fragile the ecosystem game is to even mini changes, but also small mistakes. You must remain concentrated at all times when building your food chain. I reversed the changes just made to ricket stingray and long sea bass. Let us go back to our actual ecosystem bundle B and amend our selection once more. We have been very close already. Never mind, let us bring some fresh blood in and replace ricket stingray and long sea bass by little jellyfish and the great barracuda. This does shake up the eating order, since now the great barracuda starts with its whopping 3,800 calories provided. Compared to its calories provided, the great barracuda's food demand of 1,800 calories needed actually is rather moderate. Furthermore, it generally has many food sources available. Purple-rot algae is its food source with the highest calories provided. Its 4,700 calories provided are reduced by great barracuda's 1,800 calories needed, down to 2,900 calories. Next in line in this selection is the silver haddock. Even though purple-rot algae's calories have already been reduced, among silver haddock's available food sources, it currently still provides the highest calories, namely 2,900 calories. However, they are not enough to satisfy silver haddock's food demand or 3,200 calories needed. Purple-rot algae dies. Silver haddock can get its remaining 300 calories needed from little jellyfish. But we know this already does not matter anymore. Phew! We don't give up, of course. We have not yet touched the 3 animals in the bottom row. I suggest let us keep blue sea star for now, but remove silver haddock and climber crab and bring back in ricket stingray and emerald seahorse. This indeed changes things somewhat. Again, Great Barracuda is going first, as before fully satisfying its demand of 1,800 calories needed from pepperwood algae, 4,700 calories provided, which dropped to 2,900 calories provided. Now, Blue Sea Star eats 3,300 calories needed from bronze seagrass, which currently provides the most calories and whose 5,700 calories provided dropped to 2,400 calories. The third animal to eat is little jellyfish, which seeks to eat 3,400 calories. Since bronze seagrass has already been eaten from, it will feed on moon coral. Little jellyfish drags 3,400 calories from moon coral, whose 5,200 calories are reduced to 1,800 calories. The next animal to eat is emerald seahorse. After moon coral has already been partially depleted by little jellyfish is emerald seahorse food source with the currently highest calories provided. Emerald seahorse needs 2,500 calories though, so it sucks all life out of poor little jellyfish, which only provides 2,050 calories. Emerald seahorse will be able to satisfy its remaining hunger for 450 calories from moon coral, but again, an animal has died. The 8 selected species do not constitute a sustainable food chain. What is going on here? There are still further species combinations that we can try out. At the same time, I have helped massively, and if this was the actual test, at this point with all the initial orientation, 20 minutes may have passed already, and we may get worried that we are running around in circles. Therefore, before I show you a viable solution for this ecosystem building game scenario in a moment, let us take one step back together. In my previous video tutorial, I introduced you to the fact that there are 2 meta approaches on how to master the ecosystem game. The first one I called the trial and error approach, and this is the approach we have been taking so far. Acting on the basis of best guidance, we have tried to make the optimal choices. Unfortunately, we have not yet succeeded. The second approach to solving the game I called the safe or professional approach, which is designed to carry you on autopilot and in the minimum possible time towards a sustainable food chain and winning the ecosystem game. Let me show to you how it works. For the safe approach, we approach the task like a McKinsey consultant would tackle it. He or she would use Microsoft Excel to first organize the relevant data that is scattered across the 39 species cards and then derive a correct result. For the safe approach, you use an Excel solver. If you have not yet worked much with Excel, that is fine, no worries. This tool is very easy to handle. It is designed just for this single purpose and you at most just need to copy and paste into it. We start with steps similar to those discussed before. We unfold just the 9 producer cards in your game and copy their characteristics into this top table. This goes very fast, since apart from the names, you only need to copy their calories provided and their required temperature and depth ranges, of which we already know only 3 combinations exist. As mentioned before, in the mountain ridge scenario, you would find 2 additional environmental variables, but they would exhibit the same values across all producers and animals. In our coral reef scenario, we can just leave these 2 columns empty. Then you scroll to the bottom table of the sheet, where the producer's calories provided are summed up across the 3 ecosystem bundles. We find the same numbers that we have derived before, and the tool confirms our preferred choice. Ecosystem Bundle B, since its producers together provide the most calories. I add a V to select our bundle of 3 producers and copy-paste their preferred depth and temperature, which is the same for all 13 species in the bundle. We move to the bottom table of the sheet. You copy and paste the data of only those 10 animals that are part of the same ecosystem bundle B, while the other 20 animals do not matter at all. In the final data entry step, for these 10 animals, you need to record the food sources they can eat from. Now the magic begins. Below the table, you find the Excel solver's Check Sustainability button. Let us press it and see what happens. The result is no? What does that mean? Once you press the button, the Excel solver checks if, for any combination of 8 of the 13 species in our chosen ecosystem bundle, a feasible solution to build a sustainable food chain exists. If the Access Solver reports to you that no sustainable food chain can be built from the species in the bundle, then do not waste time searching for one. In my previous video tutorial, I had warned you that, unfortunately, for some ecosystem bundles, no sustainable food chain can be built at all. And in most cases, it is impossible to see that in advance. So the first key purpose of the Access Solver is to save you from falling into this unfair trap, namely wasting your valuable game time on trying to complete an impossible task. So if you during your actual game find that for your preferred ecosystem bundle no solution exists, what should you do? Thanks to the solver, you still have sufficient time to swap to the next best looking ecosystem bundle. We again check our producer table, which suggests that the producers in ecosystem C provide more calories than those of ecosystem A. By now we know that this guidance offers no guarantee, but it still presents the best educated guess we can rely on. We go back to the top table and swap our selection to ecosystem C's producers and change to their preferred depth and temperature. Then we move to the bottom table and redo the steps as before for the 10 animals of ecosystem C. I speed up the video here and warp us to the magic step. Once again, we check for sustainability. After a few seconds, we find that, hallelujah, for ecosystem C, a sustainable solution exists. Now we have green light to move to the second major feature that this Excel solver offers, namely its pyramid template tab. What is so nice is that the tool automatically copies the species data into these boxes that you can now move into the pyramid to build your food chain. That is the only time you briefly need to use your brain, namely to see for which 8 species the sustainable food chain exists. You save time by not having to write down anything, and you can drag and drop the species boxes in the tool for your visual aid. I will let you know in a moment how to access the Access Solver. First, let us finish our game. At this point, I again invite you to try to find a solution and build a sustainable food chain from the 13 species in ecosystem bundle C yourself. Thanks to the tool, this time we know that the solution exists, so go find it. If at any point you have questions about the food chains in ecosystem bundles B or C, feel free to post them in the comments below this video. I just kindly ask you to try asking your questions in a way that does not reveal the surprise that ecosystem B does not have a solution. However, ecosystem C does have a solution. To ease the task for you, I have now highlighted the 3 producers of ecosystem C. Pause the video here if you like. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the next slide, you find the 10 animals that belong to the ecosystem C bundle. If you like to have a go at finding a sustainable food chain yourself, pause the video now. I resume for the solution. Let us certainly pick the 3 producers from our bundle, and then I start with flat pilgrim crab, giant octopus, spiral sea slug, sling sea turtle and spire swordfish. I shall swap back to my PowerPoint presentation to guide you through the happenings. Again, the producers are self-contained, so we can skip straight to the animals. The animal with the highest calories provided is flat pilgrim crab. It will eat from meadow wheat, whose calories provided drop by the 3,950 calories needed by flat pilgrim crab. Next in line is giant octopus, which currently is the animal providing the second most calories. It does not prey on any of the producers, so it will feed on its food source with the currently most calories provided, which is flat pilgrim crab. The giant octopus drags 4,050 calories from crabman's calories provided, which fall to a mere 50 calories, but it is enough for it to survive. The third species to eat is spire swordfish. It could generally eat from spiral sea slug or azure coral, but the coral provides more calories. The azure coral's calories provided fall by the 2,600 calories needed by spire swordfish from 4,200 to 1,600 calories provided. Now spiral sea slug eats. As food sources, it can eat from meadow wheat or azure coral. Both producers have already been eaten from, and at this point azure coral still provides more calories than meadow wheat. However, the remaining 1,600 calories provided by Azure Coral are not sufficient to meet the 2,500 calories needed by Spirale sea slug. In order to still its hunger, it has to drag its remaining 900 calories needed from meadow reed. The result is, this food chain is not yet sustainable since Azure Coral has died. No worries, we know that a sustainable food chain exists. Let us kick out that greedy Spirale sea slug and replace it by rogue clownfish. What difference does that make? The first two steps remain the same as before. Flat pilgrim crab and giant octopus eat first. Now it is rogue clownfish's turn. But wait, who is it eating from now? The species with the highest calories provided are both orange drifter sponge and Azure Coral. Both producers could provide 4,200 calories. Who is rogue clownfish going to eat from? At this point, I need to remind you of a special rule of the game, namely this one. Let us read it together. If two food sources of the eating species currently provide an equal amount of calories, the eating species will split its calories needed equally between the two, so that each of the two food sources' calories provided are diminished by half of the eating species' calories needed. So what happens in this case is that rogue clownfish will divide its food demand equally among orange drifter sponge and Azure Coral. Their calories provided drop by 1,750 calories each, which together add up to the 3,500 calories needed by rogue clownfish. This is a special game rule that becomes relevant only in some ecosystem bundles, and as one learning objective of this tutorial video, I wanted to make sure you are familiar with it. Now Spire Swordfish eats. As before, it will consume from Azure Coral, whose calories provided have however already been diminished by rogue clownfish. It cannot anymore completely feed Spire Swordfish, which has 150 calories needed remaining after eating from Azure Coral, whose calories provided fall to 0. Spire Swordfish will drag its remaining calories needed from meadow reed. Again, Azure Coral has died. But that is not the only problem with the selection of these 8 species. With Spirale sea slug gone, Sling sea turtle does not anymore have any food source in play that it can prey upon. It would die of hunger as well. So let us solve both problems with one go and exchange Spire Swordfish by velvet mussel. The first 3 steps remain as before. Flat pilgrim crab, giant octopus and rogue clownfish eat first. For this species set, Sling sea turtle is the 4th animal to eat. It can satisfy its food demand of 1,200 calories needed by eating from velvet mussel, whose calories provided drop from 1,500 to 300 calories provided. The last species to eat is velvet mussel itself, which drags its 1,800 calories needed from Azure Coral, which remains with 650 calories provided. Wait, what is that? Nobody dies! Hooray! We have built a sustainable food chain! This means we have almost completed the ecosystem game. We can now finally lock in your 8 species. We have fulfilled the first game objective. We still need to fulfill the second game objective, namely select a suitable location for your ecosystem. Before we finish up our game, I want to fulfill my promise and advise you on how to get the access solver. While it is easy to use, the algorithm behind it is complex to build and it was developed by a third-party provider. If you want to ensure you pass the entire McKinsey Solve Game safely, then I recommend you to check out this professional McKinsey Solve Game prep kit, which I have thoroughly reviewed for you and now endorse. It consists of 3 components. The main or base bundle is called the McKinsey Solve Game Combo with guide and videos. In that package, you first find the access solver for safely passing the ecosystem game, whose power I just demonstrated to you. The access solver is accompanied by an in-depth video course which teaches you how to exploit further secret hacks in the ecosystem game that generate almost unfair advantages and that go well beyond what I can offer in this video here. And it walks you step by step through how to exactly use and leverage the access solver during your actual test to your greatest benefits. Furthermore, the combo includes an in-depth video course that covers the entire Redrock Study, which I will cover for you in the second part of this video, and it provides widely unknown strategy advice and hacks, for instance revealing at what steps of the Redrock Study you can create extra thinking time on top of the 35 minutes that the Redrock Study grants you officially. Another element of the combo package is an interactive simulation of the second part of the Redrock Study, or the cases part, in which you can take a crack at a series of mock questions to familiarize yourself with the types of questions awaiting you in the Redrock Study. The combo still includes an entire video course on the plant defense game, which I, however, suggest to you not to spend any more time on, since McKinsey phased it out in early 2023. However, I do recommend you to flip through the 150-page PDF guide, which covers both the currently as well as the previously appearing games of the McKinsey PSG or Solve test. Last but not least, there's another brand new component to the combo package, namely an entire video course as a strategy guide to McKinsey's new ocean treatment game, on which I will say more at the end of this video. Additionally, the combo now includes a full walkthrough video demonstrating how to solve a complete ocean treatment mock game scenario, and it also comes with an Excel support tool too. So, the combo package is a no-brainer. Then you can decide to add 2 add-ons. The second module of this professional McKinsey Solve Prep Kit comes with 3 complete mock game simulations of the ecosystem game. In each of them, you are introduced to a different set of specific ecosystem game challenges that sometimes occur in the real test scenarios, so I believe once you have gone through these 3 simulations, you are aware of all possible stumble blocks of the ecosystem game. And if you get stuck, the test provider also provides video solution guides running you through the solutions of all 3 simulations. Most importantly, I suggest you to use these 3 simulations to practice using the Access Solver so that you can successfully complete your actual McKinsey ecosystem game in the absolutely least amount of time. We have seen that even small changes to the ecosystem game parameters can have a huge impact, and even practicing a crazy amount of simulations would not be able to help you with spotting if an ecosystem bundle has a solution or not. So I would rather take this smart approach that is leverage the Access Solver and practice using it in these 3 simulations. I think that's then more than enough, and this way you can keep some of your valuable preparation time for the other Solve game components or your case interviews. As a third component, which completes this holistic simulation of the entire McKinsey Solve game, you can add a complete and timed simulation of the Redrock Study, covering both its study as well as its cases parts. I playtested it for you as well and found it very well reflects the real Redrock Study experience. It emulates the real test interface, allows you to practice under the actual test conditions, and comes with extensive solution guides. You can either use the Redrock simulation to assess where you stand with your quant skills right now, or play it just before the actual test as the final step of your Redrock preparation. More on the Redrock Study soon in this video too. I want to make you aware of some further key features of this McKinsey Solve simulation that impressed me. I think its first version was launched already in 2020, and it has ever since quickly adapted to any innovations McKinsey has launched, proven once again by its recent addition of a brand new ocean treatment game preparation materials. Also, I reviewed the entire package a year ago for the first time, and now again, and found that all combo video guides on the ecosystem game and Redrock Study have recently been completely renewed and reproduced, so the test provider does everything to stay up to date. It is possible to go through the entire combo materials and the 4 ecosystem game and Redrock Study simulations in half a day, but that is intense. So I suggest that you reserve 1 day to get ready for your McKinsey Solve test and make the most of these materials. Fourth, the test provider meticulously tracks the performance of its prep kit's users and reports that so far around 90% of those who use it pass the McKinsey Solve game successfully and get advanced to the interviews. If you are an avid watcher of my channel, you may know that McKinsey's former managing partner, Dominic Barton, has revealed that McKinsey only accepts 1–2% of its applicants worldwide. Of course, you still have to survive the McKinsey case interviews, and you find more resources on how to excel at them on my YouTube channel, but a 90% pass rate on the McKinsey PSG is insane. Finally, and that I find is the best, in case you belong to the unlucky 10% who nevertheless do not pass the McKinsey Solve Game, the test provider offers you a 100% refund on all prep kit components that you have bought. That is insane. I know that the test provider is trustworthy and sticks to his word, and I've never seen such a 100% money-back guarantee in the entire test preparation industry. I have evaluated all prep kit components in detail and only recommend what I personally endorse. If you want to safely pass the McKinsey Solve test, then this is how to get it done. And in the very worst case scenario, or 10% probability scenario that you fail nevertheless, you get 100% of your money back. I think this sounds almost too good to be true, but this is the offer. If you want to get the Access Solver and check out the further components of this perfect McKinsey Solve Game simulation, you find the link in the description below this video. Now let us complete our simulation game and see how we fulfill the remaining second game objective, which now is a piece of cake. We know that all our species from ecosystem bundle C survive in a depth range between 31 to 40 meters and a temperature range between 23.8 to 27 degrees Celsius. You just need to select any such pixel on your screen and set the location of your ecosystem there. And you're ready to submit your solution and move on to the second part of your McKinsey Solve test. Both objectives fulfilled and game passed. At the beginning of this section, I advised you to always first build a sustainable food chain and then choose the location of your ecosystem. Now you should know why. If you chose the location of your ecosystem first, you would predetermine which ecosystem bundle you would have to pick to build a sustainable food chain from. This is not a smart sequence because, as you now know, not every ecosystem bundle offers a solution. So it is always better to first verify that for the ecosystem bundle you have chosen, you can build a sustainable food chain, and to then afterwards pick a location that can sustain your chosen 8 species. On a further note on our sustainable food chain, I like to make you aware that this is not the only sustainable food chain that can be built from the 13 species in our winning ecosystem bundle C. It had just been the first solution we have found, and as soon as you have found 8 species that can peacefully cohabitate with each other in your test, lock them in and move on. However, there are some further interesting peculiarities to this ecosystem bundle C's food chain. Furthermore, I assume that for your learning, some among you are curious about what could be done with ecosystem bundle A, which we have not yet discussed at all. Ecosystem game. Concluding tips and strategy guides. I do not want this video tutorial to get too long, but if you are interested in learning some further background on Bundle C and want to practice further with Ecosystem Bundle A, I provide you with the overview slides of all Ecosystem Bundle A species and commentary on the background behind Ecosystem Bundle C and A in my free consulting online test prep kit, which you can download immediately and for free, link in the description below this video. We are almost at the end of the ecosystem mock game tutorial part of this video, and I want to first highlight a few points and then summarize for you the optimal steps on how to go through the game in my concluding tips. Please do not hate me for the fact that the ecosystem bundle B does not have a solution. Hate the game. I think it is totally unfair that some ecosystem bundles have no solution and that you may get kicked out as a candidate just for the bad luck of McKinsey dealing you a bad game scenario. As per my understanding, for each playthrough, the game's parameter values are created randomly, and therefore I assume you do not get any mercy bonus if you are dealt such a more difficult scenario. As part of my tutorial, I wanted you to go through this rather frustrating and stressful experience of playing the game and feverishly looking for a solution that may not exist, so that you are at least aware of what may be going on when you need to play the game for real. Unfortunately, these more difficult scenarios occur apparently regularly, as I get reported by test takers. Recently, even a former McKinsey colleague reached out to me who, for funny reasons, had to take the McKinsey Solve test. He had been unaware of the Excel solver and after the test reported to me that he, too, had been unable to find a possible option to build a sustainable food chain and ran out of time. And even though he was confident about his performance in the Redrock study, he did not pass the McKinsey PSG. Maybe and hopefully you get luckier and dealt a friendlier ecosystem game scenario. However, if you want to adopt the safe approach using the Access Solver, I'd like to add one final piece of advice on it. Maybe you're aware that, as discussed in my previous tutorial video, McKinsey claims to track your mouse movements and clicks while you are taking the McKinsey Problem Solving Game to derive a so-called process score. Nobody knows for real if it is true, and if so, how it works. All I can say is that there are plenty of candidates who pass the PSG while using the Excel solver simultaneously. However, if you want to be 110% safe, then I suggest that for the duration of your real test, just borrow a second laptop from a friend or family member, put it next to you and run the Excel solver there. Then there's no way that McKinsey knows if you copy the game's data onto scratch paper or into the Excel solver. And I think both is fully legal. You find the link to the perfect McKinsey simulation and including the Excel solver in the video description below this video. I hope that going through this video tutorial has massively improved your understanding of the ecosystem game and that by now you have well internalized the rules of the game. This has been a long section though, so to conclude this first main section of the video, I want to quickly summarize the steps that you ought to take to win the ecosystem game. If you use what I call the trial and error approach, start by screening the 9 producer cards and find out which 3 ecosystem bundles exist. Add up the producers' calories provided for each ecosystem bundle and select the 3 producers with the highest calories provided. If you adopt the safe approach, copy the 9 producers' data into the Excel solver. Choose the ecosystem bundle that the tool recommends to you. When you follow the trial and error approach, now identify the 10 animals that belong to the same ecosystem bundle. Try to find a sustainable food chain for your ecosystem bundle. I recommend you to have scratch paper ready, and a pencil and an eraser are preferable to a pen when you are experimenting with different species combinations. In case you realize that you struggle for a long period of time to identify 8 species that can survive together, keep in mind that it may be possible that no solution for the chosen ecosystem bundle exists. In the safe approach, copy the data of the 10 animals that belong to your chosen ecosystem bundle. Check if a solution for this ecosystem bundle exists. If no, immediately move to the second best looking ecosystem bundle and rinse and repeat. If yes, use the second feature of the tool to drag and drop the animals in front of your eyes and identify a sustainable food chain. In both approaches, at the end, select a location that satisfies the environmental condition requirements of your selected 8 species. I hope you found this interactive ecosystem mock game simulation useful. Believe me, it took me quite some time to build this mock game scenario for you, in which I tried to bring you as close as possible to your real test experience. So I would be very happy if you honored me with your like or even a nice comment below this video. I reply to every single comment. If some of your peers are applying to McKinsey too, please share my tutorial video with them. And if you like my work, each of the videos on my channel is a work of art, and I invite you to explore them to the benefit of your business and consulting careers. And of course, do not forget to subscribe for further top quality content to come out soon. Redrock Study. Interactive practice questions. Hooray! In this giant McKinsey Solve mock game simulation, we can finally move on to its second part, my interactive training session to get you fit for the Redrock Study. As a quick reminder, in the Redrock Study, you are the caretaker of Redrock Island and need to manage its wildlife population or its biodiversity. So, it's time for a change. Maybe you need to manage bears. Most probably you do not need to manage foxes, but it was the most suitable cuddly toy I could find in my nephew's shelves. In my previous video tutorial on the McKinsey Problem Solving Game, I offer you a comprehensive introduction to the game setup of the Redrock Study. In this video, I want to take you through interactive practice questions offered by McKinsey itself to help you hone those analytical skills that you need to pass the Redrock Study. Just as a quick recap, the Redrock Study is designed to assess your analytical and quantitative skills under time pressure. It consists of 2 parts. The initial study part comes with 3 intertwined phases. In the investigation phase, you need to screen and select relevant data. In the analysis phase, you need to answer analytical questions based on the data you have collected, and in the report phase you have to summarize your findings. In the second part of the Redrock study, or the cases part, you need to answer 6 standalone analytical questions. Both Redrock study parts share the same theme, but the cases part does not anymore draw on the data of the study part. Like for the ecosystem game, you have 35 minutes to complete both parts of the Redrock study, and time management is key to succeed at it. While I just showed you a smart shortcut to succeeding in the ecosystem game, I'm afraid for the Redrock study such a quick fix does not exist. However, the more you practice solving analytically challenging questions under stress, the better you will perform at the Redrock study. And given the Redrock study is more similar to other common online assessments that you need to pass when you apply to other companies besides McKinsey, the good news is the more you prepare for and practice the Redrock study, the better you will also perform at, for instance, the BCG online case and your case interviews in general. In contrast to what I've done for the ecosystem game, in this interactive video tutorial I have not built a complete simulation of a Redrock study for you. It is difficult to reflect the nested structure of the investigation, analysis and report phases in a video. If you prefer a complete and timed simulation of the Redrock study, I refer you to the professional McKinsey Solve Game prep kit for your preparation that we discussed earlier, link in the description below. However, I do bring for you what I believe is second best, practice questions from none other than McKinsey itself, combined with my interactive tutorial style. Before McKinsey rolled out the McKinsey PSG, for many years it had been relying on the predecessor assessment, the so-called McKinsey Problem Solving Test, or PST. What we can exploit for our interactive training is that the McKinsey PST questions and the Redrock study questions are to a great extent similar to each other. So in the following, I invite you to go through 9 interactive training questions with me. In terms of their structure and format, they come closest to the second cases part of the Redrock study, but don't worry, also the initial study part seeks to screen you for the same analytical competencies. After we have completed this interactive Redrock test, I will share with you the key takeaways from this exercise, and I will tell you how to access further official McKinsey mock practice materials for free, before we eventually turn to McKinsey's new ocean treatment game. So, without further ado, let us start our interactive Redrock study training session. I have tried to bring you mock questions whose theme is close to the Redrock study, but then I also wanted the structure and format of the practice questions be as close as possible to what awaits you in your Redrock study test. So as a compromise, I chose for you the theme of National Garbage Incorporated. I know that's not about foxes, but about waste management, which at least somewhat keeps the environmental theme. This practice test starts with an introduction to its general theme. I will refrain from reading it out loud here. I kindly ask you to pause the video and read for yourself. Pause now. Once you have read this briefing, you know that National Garbage Inc. runs 2 very traditional business models, namely charging fees for waste collection and for waste processing. Now, have your scratched paper ready, equip yourself with a calculator and try not to spend more than 2 minutes on each of the questions, which would be roughly in line with the amount of time you should assign to each question in the cases part of the Redrock study. Let's start. In this first mock question, you are confronted with a lot of fluff text, a data table and an equations question. Yeah, lots of stuff, but that is part of the information overload / distraction game. I invite you to take a crack yourself, pause the video now and resume for the solution. I resume for the solution. Equation questions are pretty common to appear in the Redrock study cases part, so I want to familiarize you with their format. Let me tidy up this slide a little. The landfill management revenue fee is the same across all 4 answer options, fee per ton of waste processed times tons processed per week. In the table, the trash collection fees are expressed in US dollar per month, so we need to divide them by 4 to reach a weekly approximation. This rules out answer options A and B. Now the question remains if the weekly revenue is the same or lower than that approximation. To answer this, it helps to recall the case briefing. What matters are these 2 parts. I discard the rest and copy these 2 extracts next to our data table. I have highlighted the trap in the data table in red. NGI makes money on its landfill sites only from such waste that has been delivered by competitor company garbage trucks. Given the figure on waste processed per ton aggregates over both competitor and our waste, L times W would overestimate the revenue. Therefore, answer option C is correct. NGI's weekly revenue is smaller than that would be estimated by the equation on the right. As you can see, here it had been useful to remember a piece of information given at the beginning of the mock test. Considering the Redrock study, this best resembles how in its first part information carries over from the investigation to the analysis phase. Let's move on to the second question. The second question draws on the same data table as before and asks you which one of four statements is true. If you like to think a moment for yourself, pause the video now. I resume for the solution. Let us go through the answer options and check if they are true. We can rule out answer option A because in Milwaukee and San Diego for sure profit from trash collection is higher than from landfill management. Furthermore, we know from a previous question that the profit from landfill management is overstated because it is estimated on the basis of total waste processed, not just competitor waste. When you check these numbers, note that landfill management revenue is given in weekly but profit in monthly terms. Ideally, you however do not run through the entire calculations that are present here. Already the Milwaukee comparison alone falsifies answer option A. Answer option B we can rule out faster, since we can quickly derive that San Diego actually drives in the highest revenue from trash collection, not the lowest one. On answer option C we cannot make a statement. We cannot calculate the revenue from landfill management as long as we do not know the breakdown of NGI versus competitor waste processed. In regards to answer D, the wording is a bit weird. However, customer dollars spent means nothing else than revenue, so we can just compare the ratios of the profit margins and find that indeed landfill management brings in 2 to 6 times more profit than trash collection per dollar of revenue. Answer option D is correct. Such a truth statement question that you need to approach with a mix of calculations and logical reasoning is very common for the cases part of the Redrock study. Next question. This third question is the last one that refers to the same data table. I give you one tip to limit your level of frustration. You need to remember the case briefing here, which I briefly show you again here if you like to briefly pause the video. 1, 2, 3. Now read the question and have a go at this question yourself if you like. Pause the video now. I resume for the solution. This question looks easy at first, but it is nasty. First, you need to make sure that you understand that you are not asked to find the single true answer, but the single false answer. When the McKinsey Problem Solving test was infamous for such trap questions, I hated them. The reasoning goes as follows. A and D could be true because it is possible that different staffing levels and fuel costs across the cities are not included in the trash collection pricing, hence they would hit profit margins. B could also be correct because price competition may vary across the cities. McKinsey wants you to rule out answer option C because the case briefing explicitly states that varying volumes are factored into the trash collection pricing. It is common that you need to identify one or more than one true or false statements during the cases part of the Redrock study. However, in the cases part of the Redrock study, each question is independent from the others, so you will find all information you need within the instructions of a question. In this sense, this practice question comes closer to the Redrock's initial study part, where you need to consider the information from the investigation phase to execute the tasks in the analysis and report phases. Question number 4. I suggest you have a go at it yourself. Read the task and pause the video now. Well, you probably saw that I have not yet provided you with the answer options. The reason is that in contrast to the former McKinsey PST, in the Redrock study, you will very often not be provided with comfortable multiple choice questions. Instead, you have to run a calculation yourself and then enter the correct digits into a free text field. So, let us change the question a little and make you experience this challenge. The Redrock study will always instruct you in which format you need to type in the answer. Here, we just ask for a simple whole number. Now, run the maths yourself and pause the video. I resume for the solution. Let me make some space first. To derive the solution, you need to start from the profit equation and find the break-even point. The break-even is reached just when revenue is higher than cost. Now let us process the information from the task. Revenue is determined by the number of customers C times the weekly pickup fee of $100. By definition, that must be larger than the trash collection cost. There are fixed costs of 5 days times $2,000, and then for each customer twice a week 0.1 tons of waste are collected, while disposing it at NGI's landfill sites costs $15 per ton of waste. We simplify a little and solve for C to find that the number of clients needs to be greater than 103.1 to reach the break-even point. So, which digit do you enter? 104, of course, since with exactly 103 customers you would still make a loss. Such a question may certainly appear in both the Redrock Study parts, where you often need to run such quick calculations. Question number 5. Which is the coolest business and consulting YouTube channel? Like and subscribe for the right answer. Do not pause the video now. Well, you may face pie charts occasionally in your Redrock study. They might be a bit more complex than this one. Question number 5, reloaded. Read the instructions, pause the video and resume it to receive the question. Pause now. Okay, so for this question we can actually trash out the instructions so I can increase the size of the data table. This is the question. I again strip off the 4 multiple choice options and instead rather ask you for the correct number in Redrock Study style. Pause the video now. When you were reading this question, you were maybe thinking, like me, where's the hook? This question looks easier than the others. Where's the trap? Fortunately, this actually is a comparatively easy question. You just need to calculate the share of NGI-aware businesses and then derive the difference in percentage points, which is 21 percentage points. During the Redrock study, you frequently need to run percentage calculations. If you want to brush up your percentage calculation skills, I offer you a brief recap on the fundamentals and some percentage calculation hacks in this video. Question number 6 remains in the same context and poses another logical reasoning question. Read the task and have a go yourself. Pause the video now. Actually, to answer this question, we do not really need the data table. The question asks just in general for reasons that may explain the fact that NGI has more small business than large business customers. Remember, here again we are asked for the one statement that cannot provide a suitable explanation for this phenomenon, which implies the others could all be true. Let us run through the options. In regards to answer option A, of course, if there is a higher number of small customers than large customers, then it is totally normal we also have more small customers. If answer option B was true, namely that large business customers were more likely to be self-sufficient, this again would contribute to a smaller number of large business customers. Answer option C would allude to the fact that competition for winning over large business customers was tougher, making it more difficult for NGI to acquire them. Answer option D is false, because even if a share of waste management spending of larger businesses is smaller, in absolute amounts it may still exceed the waste management spending of small customers. Fine. Be aware that for my taste this was an easier logical reasoning question and that in the Redrock study you may often need to pick more than one true or false answer. I hope you enjoy the orangey color that I've chosen for the chart of question 7. I chose crazy orange just because in all its tests, McKinsey formats its charts in weird ways in which I would never appear in McKinsey client presentations. Charts play a big role in the Redrock study and you always need to pay close attention to their details in order not to miss out on any traps. Now, this question I think is comparatively straightforward. Take a crack yourself and pause the video now. I resume for the solution. You are asked for the average of these 5 data points without knowing their exact values. You can of course type 5 estimates into your calculator. Alternatively, I insert a line that approximates the visual average. Either approach will yield you the correct answer, 1,375 tons. Note that this question would be too simple to appear in the Redrock study. However, you get frequently asked questions where you need to derive averages, median and mode values simultaneously, and if you feel a bit rusty about these terms, it definitely is a good idea to refresh your memory on these concepts. We are reaching the penultimate mock question. This once again is a logical reasoning question, but this time you need to identify the true answer. Pause the video now. I resume for the solution. Answers A and D we cannot state. We know that the environmental specialists constitute 1/3 of the staff members, but have no information how the employment costs are distributed over the 12 members of staff. Furthermore, we do not know whether answer B is correct or not. Maybe there are other members of staff who need to work more than 40 hours a week. Answer B is correct. It is said that at least one environmental specialist must be present for 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. A week has 168 hours. If you divide that by 4 specialists, you reach 42 hours if all 4 specialists were working the same hours. That means at least one of them indeed must work for more than 40 hours a week. Let us get to the final question in this mock test. We actually need to bring back the chart to answer the question. Try for yourself and pause the video now. Based on the plot, we need to estimate total waste coming to Orlando's landfill from Monday to Friday. The sum of total waste per week could amount to 6,850 tons per week. Total weekly employment costs are $7,000. If we divide it by 6,850 tons, we reach an employment cost per ton of $1.02. Answer B is the correct answer. Redrock Study. Key takeaways for your training. These were the 9 Redrock Study mock questions that I've brought for you in this video, which were based on a former McKinsey Problem Solving mock test. Now I want to draw some conclusions for you. Of course, there are some significant differences between McKinsey's Redrock Study and the former McKinsey PST, but still both tests or games are after assessing your analytical capabilities. Also, time management always is key. Especially in the Redrock study, the biggest challenge comes from the lack of time to go through everything. Finally, you saw that in the McKinsey PST, each new chart came with question sets of 2 or 3 questions. In the Redrock study's first part, you also have a lot of information carrying over from the game's investigation to the analysis and report phases. However, in the second cases part, each question is self-contained. Now I want to provide you with further information on the question types you will face in the Redrock study cases part. Of course, you have to run arithmetic calculations of all kinds, quantities, profits, percentages and so on. We have seen these questions in the McKinsey PST practice questions too. We also have seen plenty of logical reasoning questions which sometimes require calculations. Be aware that in the Redrock study you often have to select more than one answer. The first question in our training session resembled an equation identification question type, like it also regularly appears in the Redrock study. We faced one question asking for a single mean value. Expect that in the Redrock study you will get asked for several mean, mode and median values simultaneously. Be aware that in the Redrock study you most probably will also have to run some probability calculations, which did not appear in our mock test. Also, sometimes you get asked which chart would be most suitable to visualize a certain fact or data series. And finally, there are questions where you need to set apart relevant from irrelevant information to address a certain question, which we have not seen here yet either. Importantly, the former McKinsey PSTs always came with exactly 4 multiple choice options, which, a small probability calculation, led to a 25% chance of you being right when selecting an answer at random. In a Redrock study, this is harder because you may either have more multiple choice options, more than one right answer, or just have to fill in 3 text fields. In any case, I hope you found taking this mock test useful to get a taste of what skills McKinsey is after. I had promised to inform you how to get your hands on further free practice materials. Back in the days, McKinsey issued a couple of paper-based McKinsey mock PSTs that you still can leverage and go through for practicing. For you, I have created my free consulting online test prep kit, in which I have compiled long lists of links to free online test practice materials. In my prep kit, which by now is more than 20 pages long, you also find the links to several of McKinsey's PST mock tests. You can download my consulting test prep kit immediately and for free, link in the description below this video. The good news is, the more you practice for the Redrock study, the better you will not only perform at the Redrock game, but also in other online assessments as well as your case interviews. In all these, you have to prove your analytical capabilities. So I recommend you to make use of these practice materials. If you are looking for further practice materials that closer or actually perfectly reflect the real McKinsey Solve Game and Redrock Study challenge and experience, then I invite you to check out the various dedicated Redrock Study prep resources and simulations that have been built by the third-party provider. You already find some Redrock prep materials in the combo package, and then there's the fully fledged Redrock study simulation that you can get in addition. The killer argument for me remains that whatever prep products you acquire, while 90% of candidates who use these preparation materials pass, those few who do not pass the McKinsey Solve Game get 100% of their money back. So essentially, you only pay when you pass. I still think that is totally awesome and fair. Ocean Treatment Game. Sneak preview. So much on this interactive training part for the Redrock study in this video. If you have made it until here, you're really cool. And I know what you're waiting for. My introduction into McKinsey's new and mysterious third game, the Ocean Treatment or Microbes Management game. Since the beginning of 2024, a new game has started to appear as part of the McKinsey Solve Game, which for the time being I shall dub the Ocean Treatment or Microbes Management game. Let me introduce you to this game's challenges first, before I tell you what to do about them. And I really had to think very hard what t-shirt to wear for this part of the video. I do not have a shirt featuring bacteria. So I thought, this shirt comes closest to a crazy microbe. I hope it does not distract you too much. This Microbes Management game does not yet appear for all candidates. It so far hits only a subset of candidates. Recently, this number seems to be growing though, so do not be surprised if you see it too. If it appears, it currently features as a third extra game in addition to the ecosystem game and the Redrock study. The game is shorter than the others since you only have 20 minutes instead of 35 minutes of thinking time. McKinsey is keeping the Solve Test's environmental theme. In the Ocean Treatment game, you have to select fitting microbes to clean 2 parts of the ocean. The general idea is that the 2 ocean sectors come with certain environmental conditions, and from a myriad of candidates, you need to select those microbes whose characteristics best fit into those environmental conditions. At present, you have to clean 2 ocean sections, and so the game's main 4 steps are currently repeated twice. Currently, because I believe McKinsey will still make further tweaks to this game in the future, since it is still being tested. At the beginning of the game, you get informed on 5 characteristics of the first ocean section to clean up. 3 characteristics will be defined as numerical intervals, and 2 characteristics will be binary and either be desirable or undesirable. These characteristics are permanent. The microbes come with the same 3 numerical characteristics, but their parameter values are varying by microbe and may fall within or outside of the respective intervals of the ocean section. Furthermore, they have 2 binary characteristics that may or may not match the desirable or undesirable characteristics of the ocean section. When selecting microbes across the 4 game steps, you need to pay attention to the success criteria. Always, you need to select microbes whose numerical values fall into as many of the desired numerical ranges as possible. Ultimately, the average of your finally selected microbes should indeed fall into these ranges. Furthermore, you ought to avoid microbes with the undesirable property and of course prefer those that have the desirable property. A word of caution though, I'm not yet sure if these success criteria are always the same or vary from game to game, or if some are more important than others. So take this as guidance, but pay close attention to what you get told in your specific game scenario. In the first step of a game, you are asked to earmark 2 of these 5 characteristics and set a value for them that you would prefer to see across all microbes. To be honest, this seems a bit random because it appears that currently the setting you define has no impact on the later steps. So maybe again, this is a step that could be omitted later, or in a future version of the game, the setting actually has an impact. Obviously, you want to choose two settings that are in line with the ocean section's characteristics. The second step becomes a bit more interesting. You get dealt 10 microbes, and for each of them you must decide, could it be a suitable candidate to treat ocean section 1? You make your choice by comparing the microbes' characteristics with those that are needed in ocean section 1. For each of the 10, you can then either decide to select the microbe or discard it. It may also be possible that you see a preview of Ocean Section 2's parameter values and can earmark some microbes as potential candidates for the second ocean section. Of course, you look for microbes that match many of the desired parameter values. Again though, to me at this point it is not clear if the 10 microbes you select at this point have any relevance for the later steps of the game. This makes the Microbes Management game currently appear somewhat random and confusing. In the third step, you are presented with a series of 3 sets of microbes, and from each set you need to select the best one. Again, you would want to pick those microbes that closest match the ocean section's characteristics. So in this example, I would pick the red microbe since it fits the best out of these 3. Now, this selection has an impact for the fourth step of the game. Those microbes you have selected get added to a pool of your final 10 candidates. From these 10 candidates, you need to select your final 3 microbes to clean up ocean section 1. Again, you must select the microbes in a way that they, together, meet as many of your success criteria as possible. Please remember, it may well be the case that the success criteria or mathematical puzzles may vary, and if not yet now, then possibly in the future. Once you have gone through these first 4 steps, you will move on to Ocean Section 2 and go through almost the same steps, rinse and repeat. So to summarize, at present the ocean treatment game feels like a great matching game. Of course, if you find any major differences in your personal game, please let us know in the comments. Now, what should you do about this Microbes Management game? My answer in short is not too much. At the moment, McKinsey seems to be testing this game with a subset of candidates. A warning sign maybe though that the number of candidates who are asked to play this game as a third component of the Solve game is growing. However, McKinsey has tested new games in the past as well and later discarded them. Testing means that McKinsey currently is most probably collecting data points to check if candidates who perform well in the ocean treatment game also perform well in the other Solve games, the case interviews and the consulting job itself. Only if McKinsey finds that the ocean treatment game is a good predictor of candidate performance, it will roll it out across all candidates. Until then, most probably your ocean game performance is not counted into your overall McKinsey Solve game performance, or at least to a less significant extent. Personally, I do not believe that the ocean treatment game as we are seeing it today will be a hot candidate to replace either the ecosystem game or the Redrock Study in the future. It is shorter, appears a bit simplistic at present, and in my view seems less complex than the other games. However, it may well be that McKinsey adds new mathematical puzzles and twists going forward. For instance, it feels weird and very un-McKinsey-like that you have to go through the very same steps twice. Obviously, if you get dealt the Microbes Management game, then take it as seriously as any of the other games. If you believe you did not perform that well, then I would still not get too stressed over it as long as you have successfully solved the ecosystem game and run well through the Redrock Study. If you then on top perform well in the ocean treatment game, of course it shall not be to your harm. If you say, no Jack, I want to be ready for the ocean treatment game whatever it takes, then I refer you once more to the professional McKinsey Solve Simulation Prep Kit. I told you that the test provider always updates its prep kit instantaneously, and I realized that the combo package got updated once again while I was producing this video. At this moment, it now also includes a brand new 1-hour video course providing very detailed strategy advice on each step of the ocean treatment game. It comes with a full video simulation of a complete ocean treatment mock scenario to familiarize you with the game's interface, challenges and solution strategies, and it comes with an Excel support tool for the final microbes matching step. And if further variations of the game are coming out, I'm sure you will find them in this bundle immediately. Given the ocean treatment game at present most probably is a bit less important than the other games, I would not get the combo package just for the ocean treatment part. But if you get the combo for the other games practice materials and the ecosystem game Excel Solver, it definitely is a very much welcome add-on. You find the links to my own free consulting test prep kit as well as to the third-party providers' professional McKinsey Solve Game simulations in the description below this video. This brings me to the end of this mammoth interactive McKinsey Solve Game training video. I really hope you found it useful and have enjoyed it. In fact, if you have made it until this part of the video, you have proven you are a true gladiator, now ready to enter the ring and wrestle with McKinsey. If you have made it until here, proudly prove it by typing "Let's play" into the comments section. And if you still feel in Chris mode, what do you believe, how many different shirts have you seen me wearing in this video? If you like to support my work, please share it. You know best who may benefit from it. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for further top quality business and consulting career advice. For your further preparation, you may want to check out my growing playlist on how to excel during your online assessments and case interviews. Specifically, if you expect to soon undergo consulting case interviews and like my interactive training style, then make sure to bookmark and go through my interactive case interview training featuring an official Bain mock case interview. I wish you good luck with your McKinsey Solve Game assessment and application. McKinsey rocks. See you soon, Jack.